Welcome to Papa Duke's Bedtime Stories. Thank you for joining me tonight. I am Duke Pierce Reed, and I am the author and narrator of this story. Before we begin, tell me in the comments where you are joining me from tonight. Your presence inspires my imagination. There are always new stories to write. If this story captivates you, like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Every interaction keeps the creative fires burning in me, and I thank you in advance. Now, let this tale unfold. Episode 5, Bedlam, a Wychwood Ghost Story. 1895, Southwark, London. Emily woke to find herself in a padded cell. Her hair was stringy and tangled as if it had been pulled repeatedly. She wore a simple frock, something which might have at one time passed for a day dress, repurposed as a hospital gown used by many before her, as evidenced by the permanent stains. Her hands were free, yet she could feel the ache of restraint, the bruised rings at her wrists and ankles, purple as manacles. She could not recall how she came here. Hours or days had fallen away like ash. Help me! Help me! That was the last thing she said before her knees gave way upon the gravel at the front steps of Bedlam. She remembered that, just that, and something else. A window, high above. The crack of a door bolt was like a gunshot. As the iron latch shrieked, the memory returned. The window above, second or third floor to her left, there, she had seen the face. That pallid, death-white face that had haunted her family at Shipton, her dreams at Fairheather. It is here, her mind whispered. It has followed me. The door swung wide. The matron entered, followed by the director. They had followed her here, too. Emily screamed, an animal sound, as orderlies in sky-blue coats rushed forward to seize her, gag her, press her thrashing shoulders down. I am glad to see you so spirited today, Lady Emily, said the director with an infuriating calm. Will you promise to behave? We can let you make new friends. Have your own nice room. Go outside if you behave and stop carrying on so. She nodded, trembling. Very well. Be nice for a few days, and we'll see, said the director. The matron's smile was all cruelty and starch. The first day Emily was allowed from her cell was Park Day, the coveted reprieve when select patients were permitted the grounds. For some, it meant liberty. For Emily, it was another page of the nightmare. A woman rushed her, sniffing and smelling at her day dress as if scenting game. Another waved a desiccated bouquet, begging all she encountered to sew it back onto her stumpy wrist. Her hand, she claimed. Two men argued in grotesque pantomime, raspberries, and shrieks volleyed between them with lunatic precision. Oh, poor little Penny Dreadful, jeered a woman with blackened teeth, pointing from the grass. This was not at all what Emily was accustomed to at Fairheather. There was wailing and whelping everywhere, the sound of music, or at least a noise made by instruments. This was a very dark place, this Bedlam. A friendly voice received her full attention. Stinks to the ear, don't it? Said a woman, seated beneath an ancient tree, a wooden flute resting on her lap. She motioned Emily to join her. Oh, you startled me, said Emily, cautiously taking the seat in the shade of a great old tree. Tuning up, at least that's what we calls it. Could go on for hours like this. No one will agree on a common starting note, you see, the girl explained. Her pale eyelashes fluttered like snow moths. Emily looked around at the others, who stood or sat nearby, making various squeaks and trebles. She said nothing about the dissonant havoc, but gave the girl a polite nod. You should gently stroke the strings, not beat 'em senseless, reprimanded the girl. Then in a near whisper, "Name's Honeysuckle Meek. I am pleased to make your acquaintance, I think," said Emily. "I am Lady Emily of Shipton Court." "Of Shipton Court, is it? Oh, my. We have another dignitary among us," said Honeysuckle with some fun, adding a gentle touch to Emily's arm in apology. "Don't worry, sweetie. We is all lords and ladies in here, we is, and that is our chamber players as much as they be at present. Calls ourselves the Simpletons. Kind of a play on words, you see." Her tone was kind, and soon Emily found herself talking too freely. She insisted she was wrongly confined, that she was as sane as any of them. Her words tumbled fast, although she was careful to avoid any talk of the malevolent entity which haunted her. "Oh, yes, Shipton is a lovely place," she beamed as Honeysuckle listened wide-eyed, unable to get a word in. "I can remember when I was very young, just a little girl of 3 or 4, when my father would let me sit on his lap in front of the grand fireplace in the parlor. And when his mother, old Grandmother Shipton, I don't remember her much, but I do remember walking in the gardens with her. She would talk to the shrubbery." "Oh, she would fit well in here," Honeysuckle said under her breath. Emily smiled faintly, lost in the reverie. "And old Mr. Twitch, the butler, he'd been there forever, wore a ruffled collar even when they'd gone out of fashion. He was kind to father, too old for his duties, yet stayed on. I remember him by the fire, drinking brandy with father, until that night." She hesitated. "That night?" prompted Honeysuckle gently. Emily's gaze drifted into the foliage. "I was small, but I remember. Twitch was arguing with the footman, Wakefield. There were whispers in the hall. Then I saw it. I saw Wakefield in the parlor. And poor Twitch. Oh, God, I saw—" Her breath caught. The park dissolved around her. The rustle of leaves became the crackle of fire. The smell of carbolic gave way to port and smoke. She was no longer at Bedlam. 1836, Shipton Court. The junior footman Wakeman had clawed his way to senior rank by cruelty and cunning. One chambermaid had fled the estate disgraced, swollen with child, her silence purchased by terror. Twitch, the venerable butler, had endured much in his long service, but Wakefield's insolence was an infection spreading through the staff. In the footman's 10th year of employment at Shipton, tensions between himself and his superior reached their zenith. Their quarrel came to its breaking point one afternoon in the upper corridor on a day which began with tears in the kitchen, Wakefield causing distress to cook. "I will tolerate no more," said Twitch, his thin frame rigid with dignity. "Tolerate? Tolerate? I have tolerated your incompetence and senility far too long," hissed Wakefield, stepping close. "You, sir, are out of line, and further, you are accused of cruelty to the domestics, and most disturbing to his lordship, lies, of pilfering the pantry for your own trade, his selling his lordship's goods in the alleys, lies, and dragging the house into the filth from which you came." Wakefield leaned in until their noses nearly touched. "Such talk is of a raving lunatic, you imbecile old man, in your frilly ruffle. You should be locked away with the lunatics, you fool. But it would be easier to kill you." He jabbed Twitch in the sternum, knocking the old stoic 2 steps backward, gasping. A movement in the mirror behind him caught Wakefield's eye. 2 reflections glared back. Cook, pale and horrified, having witnessed the confrontation from the shadows, and another, darker shape with dead eyes that whispered from beyond the glass. It was Cook's sudden appearance that startled Wakefield, not the spectre itself. That whisper, a cold promise of vengeance, guided his hand and mind. "Both Cook and Twitch must go," it hissed, and the house must fall. Wakefield welcomed the command. He was a willing accomplice to this macabre and drawn-out revenge. Later that night, Wakefield lurked in the hall beyond the parlor where Twitch and Sir John drank by the fire. The two were well into their cups, and Sir John was reminiscing on his audience with the king. Old George gave me a gold pocket watch, you know, he said, slurring his words to a degree suggesting his night was nearly over. Patient as always, Twitch nodded. He knew the story well, had been there to see it happen, been on hand since Sir John was still little Johnny in short pants. When there was a pause, Twitch spoke. My lord, said Twitch quietly, there is a matter of some urgency. Another bottle of port, eh? Slurred Sir John. No, Sir Wakefield. Another... what? Another... No, another bottle of port, you idle-headed haggard, mumbled Sir John in jest as his glass spilled crimson onto the Persian rug. My lord, I must discuss a matter of urgency with you first, said Twitch as he tended an errant log in the great wide fireplace. He returned the poker to its place. He paused to consider the right words while bending to retrieve the glass from the stained carpet. The poker struck before the words could form. One sweeping blow to the crown sent Twitch reeling backward onto the iron fire dog, the ruffled collar blooming scarlet. Wakefield stood over him, transfixed by the emptiness in the old man's eyes that matched the thing in the mirror. Sir John stirred, half awake in his overstuffed leather chair. Wakefield moved quickly. A chair was moved to the right of the fire where hung the embroidered bell pull and tassel, the device with which Twitch often summoned Wakefield to fetch another bottle. He climbed the chair and wrapped the tassel up over an ancestral portrait which adorned the mantel. Sir John murmured as the iron poker was placed at his feet. Wakefield composed himself at once, voice trembling in imitation of innocence. Good heavens, Sir John! What have you done? What? What's happening? What's happened? Good heavens, Sir John! What have you done? Said Wakefield with false urgency again. What has happened? Said the groggy patriarch. Sir John, you've killed Mr. Twitch, said Wakefield as he set the poker aside as if it were an ancient relic. I what? As I came down the stair, I could see Mr. Twitch trying to pull the bell pull up out of your reach. You were angry and struck him. Look where the poor old soul lies now, said Wakefield, holding his hand to his mouth in a show of horror worthy of Macbeth. Oh, my dear old friend, what have I done? Moaned the old baron, pleading with the dead man. Overwhelmed with panic and sudden sobriety, Sir John tried to pull Twitch off of his skewering like some roasted boar, to no avail. Oh, let me take care of everything, my lord, said Wakefield with the solemnity of a barrister of the Old Bailey. He eased his employer to the chair and called out over his shoulder, We need assistance! Let me take care of everything. When all had gathered, staff, family, local constables, and chief inspector in charge, the questions came fast. Wakefield's performance was flawless. He told his tale with perfect calm. The old butler had fallen, his lordship distraught, no witnesses, and Wakefield answered smoothly, as calm as any man would or could under the circumstances. Standing by the chair? What the devil for? Asked the officer in charge. Oh, it appeared to me, sir, from my limited vantage point near the far stairs, that he was attempting to unfix the bell pull from atop the portrait. There, over the mantel, said Wakefield, with a finger pointed to and fro as he spoke. Well, how did it get there? Did you tangle the tassel, Mr. Wakefield, so you could not be summoned, eh? Asked the quick-witted chief inspector. Certainly not, sir, said Wakefield, surprised. He'd not thought of that angle. He then lost his balance, it would seem, and, oh, so dreadful. He paused as if to weep. Onto the fire dog he fell. Oh. And you found him dead, said the chief inspector, finishing the thought. Yes, precisely, answered Wakefield. Do you have that? Asked the chief inspector, glancing at the detective's notes. No one else in the room, eh, then? Wakefield paused deliberately, savoring the silence. He turned towards Sir John, whose face had gone the color of wax, eyes wide and helpless. The poker lay at his feet, glistening faintly in the firelight. No, Wakefield said at last, his tone measured, deferential. No one else? The words settled in the parlor like dust on the rug, soft, irreversible. He inclined his head toward the inspector, all propriety and restraint, though inside his mind ran quick as mercury. Already he was shaping the future. A gentle word here, a subtle threat there. The Baron's gratitude could be persuaded into dependence, dependence into fear. Soon Sir John would sign whatever was placed before him. The estate, the servants, the treasures of Shipton, all would pass from one trembling hand to his own steady grasp. Behind him, the portrait above the mantel seemed to darken. Within its glassy varnish a figure stirred, pale and watchful. The wraith had found a new steward for the curse. But the living, being blind, saw none of this, none but the child on the stair. She stood half in shadow, half in the molten glow of the hearth, a small hand pressed against the banister. The fire's reflection burned in her eyes, and the house seemed to draw its breath around her. What she saw that night would never leave her. Emily saw it all. End of episode 5.
I hope this episode of Bedlam, a Wychwood ghost story, has enthralled you, dear listener, and brings you back for the next. Were you surprised by the plot twists? Or did you expect something altogether different? Share your thoughts below. The comments are always helpful, and I really do enjoy reading them. If this Wychwood ghost story captivates you, please like and subscribe to Papa Duke's Bedtime Stories for more. Written and narrated by me, Duke Pierce Reed. You can purchase digital copies of most of my books online, from Apple Books, Amazon Kindle, Barnes & Noble, Nook, Kobo Rakuten, and dozens of fine online shops worldwide. Thank you for joining me tonight.